Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special session of the Newcastle City Council for April 15th. The time is 6:30. We are meeting in a special session to have an executive session. There will be an executive session this evening to discuss with legal counsel pending or potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1 paragraph I. Executive sessions are closed to the public. We will convene into executive session at 6:30 for city attorney. 25 minutes. We invite City Manager Pingle and City Attorney Chambers to join us. We will return in approximately 25 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start at 7:05 by the clock on the back wall. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newcastle City Council regular meeting for April 15th. The time is 7 o'clock. I'm Mayor Clark presiding. The City Council just had an executive session or a special meeting at 6:30. An executive session per RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1 paragraph I, where we discussed pending or potential litigation. No decisions were made and no votes were taken. We recessed for approximately 30 minutes prior to this meeting. This meeting is being recorded on our YouTube channel and is also being broadcast for public viewing live. If you would like to sign up for public comment tonight, we encourage you to do so now. There's 2 sign-up sheets on the dais, or excuse me, over on the table. You can sign up, put your name down if you'd like to make a public comment, and we'll call you when we get to that point. At this point, please rise and join us in the flag salute. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Burford.
Here.
Councilmember Sherlock.
Here.
Councilmember Griffin.
Here.
Councilmember Quigg. Is he online? Yes.
Here. I'm here.
Councilmember Charbonneau.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lacotia. Here. And Mayor Clark.
Here.
All right, all here, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. We've had a request, Council, that we rearrange the agenda slightly to allow 2 reports to go ahead of public comment tonight. So I would request that if there's, that we approve agenda with item 8.2 and 8.3 moved ahead of public comment. Any objections or desired changes? Go ahead, Councilor Charbonneau.
Yeah, I would like to pull item 9.4 from the consent agenda.
We'll get to that later in the meeting.
I mean,
Consent.
it's normally agenda approval right now.
Well, when we get to bring that up again. So I'm talking about the entire agenda. Any objections to moving items 8.2 and 8.3 ahead of public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll show the agenda approved as modified. Item 8.2 and 8.3 will go ahead of public comment. So 8.2 tonight is a state of the county with Councilmember Reagan Dunn. He's asked to go early because he has to leave early, so we're going to allow Councilmember Dunn. Please come on up and present to us.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, City Council members, City staff. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate the adjustment on the agenda. It's been a little bit crazy today, as you might imagine. And so great to be back and see everyone here and be back in the great city of Newcastle. As you know, I try and visit all of the 9 cities that I have the privilege of representing every year to sort of give you an update on what's happening in King County and give you some background, some facts on policies and ballot measures that are coming before you. So it helps you sort of dovetail with what some of the regional leadership things are going to be happening down the line and helps you plan better for your municipal decisions here in Newcastle. Should note that I grew up right down the Newcastle Parkway and Coal Creek Parkway, grew up down there in the mean streets of Newport and South Bellevue. And so we used to hang out up here back in the day doing all kinds of stuff as teenagers, and we love Newcastle, and it's amazing to have watched it grow. And I can remember when just where the Safeway is was just a big vacant lot they had longhorn steer there that they kept there many, many years ago. So I'm dating myself, but it's fun to watch, and it's great to see the decisions you're making to grow this great city in the future. So let me just give you an update on what's going on with King County, showcase some of the successes and some of the failures, and then hopefully maybe, if the mayor is comfortable, trigger a few questions, but it should give you a sense of what we're doing. Just real quick, next slide, please. Thanks, Jeff. On council organization, so Gurmai Zahalai is, well, I'll just talk through it while you're getting there to that one. The council organization is, Gurmai Zahalai is the chair of the King County Council right now. I am serving as vice chair along with council member Sarah Perry, and a bunch of committee assignments that we have. I am chairing the King County Flood Control District, which is a separate unit of government separately from King County, but by virtue of being elected to the county council, you're automatically made a supervisor on that board, and I chair that and do a lot of good work. And we helped, as some of you may know, helping with some of the projects along Lake Boron over there, and the dock, and some of the open space acquisition, and a few other things. So we're proud of that. We've done a lot of work on Coal Creek as it moves its way down from here down to the lake as well. So there, you're almost there. You got it. You're doing good. I can talk through it, so I got the speech here. You have the PowerPoint, by the way. Here's what it looks like. in your hot little hands, so there you go, for what it's worth. So just walk through with me. District 9, nearly 300,000 people in District 9, okay? 9 cities, we also have Issaquah in there, and a whole bunch of unincorporated area communities. So this District 9 is by far sort of the most moderate to conservative district of those in King County. As you might imagine, you've got downtown Seattle districts, and then this district is everything south of I-90, this side of Lake Washington, and all the way down to the Enumclaw Plateau, up to Snoqualmie Pass, where we border Yakima County and Natchez Pass. So it goes a long ways, but there's a lot of rural and suburban communities in there, and 93,000 unincorporated residents, which is by far the most unincorporated folks. So they don't have mayors or city councils, they have me. And so, you know, as you well know, you know this stuff. If the dogs are barking too loud, or the stop sign is covered by branches, or we had a Sasquatch sighting recently, that's me. They call me. We get right on that. We got on the Sasquatch thing, it's all handled, so don't worry about that. We do everything. Anyway, it's a privilege to represent this area and the place I grew up. Let's talk about 2024, what we did in 2024 that was significant, that you should find noteworthy. There was a new Harborview Hospital tax that was passed to fund maintenance operation of the Harborview Medical Center. And it also added some money for public health clinics, and was a follow-on to a bond increase that was approved by the council about 4 years ago, where it was about a $1 billion proposal. It dramatically increased because of the cost of inflation and the fact that King County didn't get, didn't get their act together and didn't start putting the construction together, and then a runaway inflation became a problem. And so this tax increase was actually a bailout to get Harborview out of trouble because they didn't get the job done 4 years earlier. I actually opposed that hospital tax, but it has been funded already by the majority of the council. So that was one thing we did. I supported the first Harborview bond increase. I opposed the second one. The council made a minimum wage. Council passed a minimum wage 2029. It actually moves up quite a bit after 2029 over the next several years, which gives unincorporated King County by far the highest minimum wage of any unincorporated area in the United States, any county. So it's a lot. It's hitting farmers. You'll hear about it. It's somewhat controversial, but that was a big thing we did last year. And then finally, the BESS, or battery energy storage systems, new technology to store energy. That was something that we worked on from a land use perspective, and it was controversial and remains controversial. So those 3 things I wanted to point out that we did last year that you should, just to draw your attention. Next slide, please. So I do extensive survey work throughout Council District 9, so 300,000 people. Cities, Bellevue, Newcastle, Renton, Kent, Covington, Black Diamond, Maple Valley, Enumclaw, Snoqualmie Pass, and a lot of those unincorporated area residents, a little bit of Issaquah. And these are what the public is seeing. This is recent data, last 3 months. Top 3 issues that people are feeling. Reducing crime, improving public safety, 71%. Reducing property taxes, 48%. Solving homelessness, 30%. So that may be different, and I have the crosstabs for every city. We can provide that to you. But from, again, this is the more conservative of all the 9 districts. That's what people are thinking by and large. That includes things like the Enumclaw Plateau, which has a different voting trend than, say, Bellevue does or Renton. If you ask the question, do people feel more or less safe? In this climate right now, only about 3.5% more safe. Less safe, 53.3, about the same, 42. So not doing real good on the safety factors right now. There was an effort by the executive to close down the juvenile jail and open unsecured respite houses for juveniles across King County. 93% of the public opposed Executive Constantine's proposal. Only 6% support closing down the jail. So I did move legislation that passed unanimously to keep the youth jail open, which I think it was the right move there. because it has classrooms and it has a library and it has a gymnasium, and there's a lot of alternative work we can do to help rehabilitate some of these young people. But those who are in the youth jail are there because they have been accused of murder, rape, homicide, manslaughter. The most serious charges are the violent felonies are the ones that end up there as opposed to some other diversion program. Taxes, 68% don't support new taxes very generally. And then homelessness, I just draw your attention to this, 90% plus don't think King County is doing a good job with homelessness. And 92.1% would support a law requiring the removal of homeless encampments. So interestingly, and they're right, by the way, in that 90% number, King County isn't doing a good job. And I'll give you some data here in a minute that explains that. Next slide, please. All right, great. So let's take a look at the raw numbers of homeless. This is just King County data. So you'll see that table on the left, the raw numbers of homeless folks, chronically homeless in our county moving forward. So it went from 11 to 16,000 in about 4 years. I want to point out, draw your attention to the actual map of the United States. That is the number of individuals experiencing homeless by state in the change from 2023 to 2024. So this is Biden administration HUD data. I want you to see how we compare with the other states in terms of the raw increase or decrease in homeless people across the country. And you will see that Washington State had by far the greatest increase in homeless individuals compared to all the other states. So some states went down a little bit, some states went up, but Washington State and Oregon are by far an outlier there, which draw your attention to that data, that HUD federal government data, and it suggests that our policies are failing and that we have substantial room for improvement in that area, and we better start figuring out solutions to this. And I can talk ad nauseum, and I don't want to bore you. You are all policymakers. You understand the nuances of homeless policy, but it's not going well, and I wanted to flag that for you. Switching gears, next slide, please. Let's take a look at substance use and overdose data. So fatal overdoses in King County are about 3 times higher than gun violence homicides, people dying by guns. So our non-fatal overdose data is roughly 6 or 7 to 1 for every fatal overdose to non-fatal. But there's this huge spike up through 2023. It was a real crisis. I moved some legislation to make fentanyl a public health crisis. But we saw it come down just a little bit last year, but it's back up a little bit right now. So anyway, the trend line is somewhat concerning. Maybe we've plateaued out. That'd be really good if we plateaued, because those kinds of numbers that's, in my opinion, on the right, the definition of a public health crisis. That's fentanyl, that's overdose. That's a serious problem that we need to continue to work on and don't have all the answers for. I've done some work in that area. As you know, it's an issue close to my heart. Next slide, please. Some of the things we've done. Fentanyl is a public health crisis, a bunch of public awareness campaign like Laced and Lethal. One pill can take a life with respect to fentanyl. We did pass, and I took a kind of a healthy tax vote there that I was careful and deliberate and thoughtful on, in my opinion, and decided to support 5 new crisis care centers that will be designed to treat addiction and give us the necessary infrastructure. Now, we've only got a couple stood up right now, but by comparison, if you look at similar sized counties across the country, most of them have way more in terms of treatment infrastructure. Like Riverside has 14, Clark County, San Bernardino has 13, and Clark County, Nevada has 9. So we need to build those out, and that is an area where we've got a lot of work to do, and we'll continue to work on it. Switching gears, next slide, please, over to court backlog. Couple different things, unlawful detainers. So we've heard a lot about evictions, and there was an eviction moratorium for a long time. There's been a lot of rent control issues, but The unlawful detainer system was very significantly backed up. It remains backed up. We've got a lot of work to do to try and scale that back. But we were able to add some money to support this. We added 2 more Superior Court judges dedicated to this. So hopefully we see the unlawful detainer backlog come back down. So much of this is part of a bow wave created by the pandemic. Next slide. Let's look at court backlog on criminal. So you'll see we were bumping along right around our average, county average, right up until the pandemic. And then you'll see, because we had to shut down jury trials for a while, they weren't in person, there was all kinds of things happening at the courthouse. Folks weren't able to get in. And we saw a dramatic increase in backlogs within overall caseload. We have slowly reduced that amount. It looks like the trend line's coming down, but with respect to murder and homicide, we are not anywhere near where we need to be in terms of catching up on the serious violent felonies that we are supposed to prosecute. So it's a significant challenge that we will continue to have to fight to improve and throw more resources at to try and fix. And you'll see some of the data in terms of murder and homicide and burglary and other cases that are also part of this. The problem is because there's been some additional crime since the backlog started. Next slide, please. So violent crime in King County, this is one of the reasons why you see that backlog. We got from the beginning of the pandemic until just last year, I mean, things were shooting up, you know, total shots fired, right? Homicides went way up. Again, back down in 2024. Most of the country saw a reduction in 2023. Ours went up, but we did see one in 2024. So that's a good trend. That's the kind of trend we want to see to bring it back down into manageable levels. But you know, violent crime is up, and hopefully it doesn't stay up. Hopefully it comes down. Next slide. All right, but it's not true with juvenile crime. Juvenile crime continues to rise, and this is not true in most communities across the country, but it's true here. And you'll see 2021 to 2024, we're seeing a continued increase in a lot of challenges related to charges being filed, not being filed, diversion programs, some of which are highly controversial. The net effect of it is that we have a big spike in juvenile-related crime that we need to get a handle on. And there are some policy proposals to try and solve those, and they are all quite controversial depending on who you talk to. So I wanted to flag that. Next slide. Juvenile Detention Center, the executive wanted to close it, proposing policies called zero youth detention. Even though we saw the violent crime felony filings up 146% from 2021. And so I proposed legislation to keep the youth jail open, and I got a unanimous vote, 8-0, to keep it open. So that's good. The executive still, even with the position of the county council, still somewhat defiant in terms of whether he wanted to close the jail, but the executive, as you know, has stepped into the Sound Transit job, so that Dow is over there at Sound Transit, and we are now contemplating his successor in a permanent role. Right now, it appears the front runner is Shannon Braddock, the longtime deputy executive. I suspect she'll probably get it, but before we get to appointing her more permanently and to the end of the year, many of us on the council want to know, what is her position on closing the jail? Is she going to keep it open, or is she going to try and shut it? We also want to know, since about 80% of the county workforce are still working from home, what her plan is going to be to bring workers back to King County. 18,000 employees, right? $20 billion biennial budget, most people working from home. We're seeing productivity not nearly as effective as it once was. So those are questions that need to be asked. You'll hear me asking those questions. That's my job to, get some of these potential leaders to state their positions so we know what the policies are going to be moving forward. Next slide. There was a big challenge with losing cops after sort of George Floyd and the defund the police, and there were some vaccine mandates that we lost about, well, nearly 60 folks because of that. We lost a lot of cops, and in fact, we had 115 vacant deputy positions there for a while, which also, as you know, affects your contract cities. But we've been working hard to try and get those folks hired. And so right now we have 75 vacancies, down from 114. And 52 of them are non-deployable because they are in training. So we are making progress there in a good way. And Sheriff Patty Cole-Tyndall makes this one of her top priorities, which is good. So I hope that as we get fully staffed, we can, one, support our contract cities in a productive way, but also, begin to, try and attack that crime problem as best we can, because those things are all interrelated. Next slide, please. So again, I mentioned Shannon Braddock. Dave Updegrove got elected State Lands Commissioner. So Dave is down there doing a good job for us in the state. And we put Deshaun Quinn. Many of you know Deshaun. He was on the Tukwila City Council. He's fabulous, a new addition. We put him in there, and he's been doing a good job representing District 5, which is to my west there. And I mentioned who's chairs. And this all falls, by the way, in the backdrop of a whole bunch of people running for exec. So the exec race is this November, and you've got 7 out of the 9 members of the council running for something, some for exec. So there's a lot going on politically that makes it kind of interesting, more interesting than your regular year. Talk about taxes and the legislative candidate or calendar. APHIS, that's the automated fingerprint identification system. It's on the April ballot, so your ballots should be in your mailbox now that you can vote. We just passed out today a parks levy that will go on your August ballot. It's about a 24% increase over the prior levy. So you have to take a good look at it, decide whether that's something you want to support or not. But I wanted to share with you that it does bring a lot of stuff down in this area, which is good. The question is it something we want to afford? And everybody will have a chance to decide that on their own with their own ballot. EMS levy, that's the Emergency Medical Services levy, is on the ballot. I was very involved in crafting that. It is basically a revenue neutral proposal that continues funding from the prior 6-year period. So we worked really hard. It starts a tiny bit higher by percentage, but it ends lower by percentage over the 6-year period. And I just point out, with respect to EMS, King County has a 56% cardiac arrest survival rate. Okay, we're number 1 in the nation for that. By contrast, New York City has a 6% survival rate. So we really do well in that area. It's one of the reasons why I support that particular levy. And so it'll be something that people can talk about on the November ballot. There's some other potential votes, Transportation Benefit District, which the council would vote on. And then who knows what the legislature is going to send us in terms of other additional authority or tools. So as you know, there's a lot of taxes being talked about in Olympia. There's a fair number of taxes also being talked about at King County. And so we'll know with more clarity what the legislature does. Sine die is on April 28th, so we'll have a better sense of what the legislative tools are. But a lot of taxes being proposed, so just be mindful of that. Some stuff moving forward, critical areas ordinance, on-site sewage regulations, winery legislation as well that we'll be deciding from a land use perspective. Next slide. Okay, so Executive Constantine is trying to fill a $150 million budget shortfall in our general fund. This is the proposed budget right now. These are all cuts. So you're talking about a $30.2 million cut in the sheriff's office. So your contract city, obviously, but all these areas like May Valley and places around you unincorporated are served by that. And that cut is very substantial to the sheriff's office. Same with the court, same with the prosecutor, in a lot of other areas. We're going to have to work hard in this biennial budget year to make sure that we do everything we can to reduce those kinds of cuts and reprioritize spending, I hope, to get to a place where we don't cut past the bone so that we can continue to fund what I believe are our basic services, our highest priority services, which are emergency services. Next slide. Spending and population growth, these are just some slides to tell you kind of what we've expenditures and what our revenues are and full-time employees. The takeaway that I want to make is, if you go back a couple, no, you're good on the slide, but if you go back a couple more, there's been a 44% increase in King County's budget, or 44% increase in revenue and tax increases over the last 10 years, but only a 17% increase in population growth. So King County has been one of those governments that's growing quite quickly, not unlike the state of Washington budget as well. Next slide. All right, here we are. Look at Son. She's in the picture. See that? Oh, Mayor Clark's in the picture too. A whole bunch of people are in that picture. All right, some really cool stuff that you should be proud of that many of you worked hard to get. Grants, the Newcastle Arts Council and Veterans Human Services for Newcastle, Youth and Amateur Sports grants, Pony League grants as well. And a big one that many of you know about, a number of us worked together for that Save Coal Creek to obtain that $9.25 million grant for that Milt Swanson property. So those of you know it, like heading down towards the golf course, that big hairpin turn right in there, that whole area is what we were trying to save. So the folks saving Coal Creek should give themselves all a pat on the back. I think it's a nice partnership with Bellevue and Newcastle and King County to preserve a really cool piece of land forever. So that's something that really happened well. Next slide. Bunch of grant opportunities. So one of my jobs is to try and help identify grants that will help local communities, not just sort of units of local government, but nonprofits and other groups that both capital and operating funding. There's a lot of different grant programs that exist within King County, and so if you are in need of something, whether it's something to do with Lake Boron, something to do with Coal Creek, something to do with parks, something to do with one of the nonprofit boards you serve on, please reach out to my office. We can help guide you to these pots of money that exist that are part of county code. And quite frankly, if they're not going to Newcastle, they're going to, Vashon Island or Shoreline or Bothell or Woodinville or wherever. And so we'll fight to try and help bring those dollars in because they will be spent, and we might as well have them benefiting organizations right here in and around Newcastle. Next slide. Oh, no, rating elected officials. Move past that one. You don't want to see that one. That stuff. You don't want that stuff. Okay, so here you go. That is the summary of what we've been doing. It's obviously a great privilege to represent this community, and just want to be here as a resource. I work for you guys, and as I've told you all before, I don't substitute my judgment for what the city of Newcastle wants to accomplish as a municipality. I try and work with you to help you achieve your goals. So that's my leadership style on this stuff. Unless there was something that was really outside the scope, we'd work together on it. But I'm happy to take any questions. Mr. Mayor, if you're interested in providing.
Questions for Councilmember Dunn? Go ahead, Councilmember Charbonneau.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Dunn. So I wanted to, going back to sort of your slide, I know you've done, talking about substance use disorder. I think I was curious what you have seen other municipalities do to sort of take action around this issue. I know it feels really large in scale, right? But I think a really good example is domestic violence per se, whereas our police chief took initiative to partner with a nonprofit, and now we have another place folks that are experiencing that can go. So recognizing it might be sort of a large issue, but we can help the handful of people that it might affect in Newcastle. Anything along that line, or any other recommendations you have from engaging with?
Yeah, I've got a lot of them, and it's a sort of a the bottom line is we need more infrastructure in place to treat people who are suffering. So just a couple public clinics isn't enough. There are some private sector stuff that is helpful, and we've heard of some of those public hospitals, but we don't have anywhere near, if you look at a needs assessment, out here in King County compared to what the problem is. That's part of the problem. Another part is simply 90% of, this is a stat, 90% of the public who are actively suffering from addiction will not get the treatment or help they need because they're afraid of the stigma associated with being identified as somebody who's an addict, okay, or who has a substance use disorder. And I get that. I used to drink way too much. I wouldn't go to AA meetings because I was afraid of being an elected official identified as, hey, there's that guy, he's that elected guy over there in the AA meetings. It's brutal. We need to destigmatize this a little bit so people get more comfortable getting the help they need. We need to put the infrastructure in place so they can get it. We need, cost should never be a barrier for something as simple as treatment. People don't know where to start, where to get the money. Much of it can be done fairly easily. And so as you think about treating substance use disorders, you really have to put as many tools in the toolbox as possible. And we need to make a greater investment in that area than we are currently making right now. And and it dovetails into so many other areas. For example, homelessness. And you saw the stats on homelessness. 64% of our homeless population actively self-identify as actively addicted to drugs or alcohol. Okay, 73% identify with a serious mental health challenge. And so until we start to address some of these underlying causes of chemical dependency, of mental health treatment, we really aren't going to get where we need to go. There are some great places, Michigan, Connecticut, there's some great examples of communities that have done a nice job. We aren't in the forefront right now, but we sure could be if we tried.
So I'm curious though, I'm connected with NAMI East Side, and I've talked with a couple of the board members that influenced the choice, who I believe you've also interacted with.
Sure.
Are there other organizations, and then are there any other specific policy recommendations or places to point us?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of good programs that are out there, but the Recovery Cafe is a group that is really fantastic. David Coffey runs that. There's the Recovery Alliance of Washington State. That's a really good group. I have a much more nuanced sort of platform, I guess is the right term for it, on the things we need to do to plug into some of these services. I would just note a nuance here. The Trump administration, whether you agree with the current administration or not, is going to take some changes to a lot of the funding to the housing first approach to homelessness. And they may well be switching some of that over to behavioral health and addiction. So I guess, without getting too far into what I agree with or not, if resources are going to become available for this stuff from the federal government, we might as well jump on the bandwagon and get it. But there's also room for levy dollars and reprioritizing spending in a bunch of different areas. But I'm happy to share, Councilmember Charbonneau, some of those additional documents. I guess the basic tools, we need as many tools in the toolbox as possible to address this, because it claims 3 times the lives as gun violence, and we're just not doing very well. Thank you for the questions.
Councilmember Sherlock.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much, Councilmember Dunn, and thank you for taking up that issue so much, and I can tell it's near and dear to your heart. Really appreciate you being candid about that. It helps with the stigma, so thank you. My question is, you have all these great grant opportunities listed. Is there any, I know there's a lot of cuts happening, are there any cuts to the grant opportunities?
We'll see so we're deliberating the budget right now, but a lot of times those grants, they might give it a haircut, but usually they go after the big ticket items. So the executive can propose any budget the executive wants to, and then it's our job to build it back. But those grant opportunities, by and large, some of them are dedicated sources like Conservation Futures, for example. So by and large, most of those are going to stay in place. Flood District is, a separate unit of government that I chair that has a significant grant opportunity. So expect that they'll be there. The big question mark right now is, what is Washington DC doing? Like, I just don't know. I don't think anyone knows. So we got to figure that out and roll with it. But for now, measured grants are still available. We'll keep fighting for them and identify one that might work for something you care about, and we'll go after it. Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Burford?
Yeah, I just want to thank you again for your strong support for our community, and including Lake Browning Park, that boardwalk, and you came for the ribbon cutting, and due to your significant support. I mean, the support was significant. Also for Newcastle Lunar New Year celebration, and you came. You also contributed $2,000 for our community celebration. That's it. In addition, I'm also so grateful for our Newcastle Arts Council, and we had a great conversation since last July. We met several times, including Cody. I would like to, shout out to Cody, your chief of staff, Cody, for his time and conversation and be present. And I'm so grateful our Newcastle Arts Council. In the next 3 years, each year we received $30,000. That's really, really such significant amount. I just want to thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burford. I appreciate that. We'll keep working in that area.
Okay, I have one quick question for you.
Sure.
I wrote this down, and then you kind of got to it on your slide, but your number one priority that the people said in this district was crime, for fighting crime, and I imagine it's the same across all the districts. And yet, it seems like the biggest cut you made was to the King County Sheriff's Office. Was there a discussion that maybe you could substitute something else as you're going through and bring back the police that really is the priority?
Yeah, so the background of that, so that's Dow's proposed cuts, right? So they'll come over to the council. They actually haven't been transmitted, and then we'll spend the late summer and fall deliberating on the budget. Yeah, I'm not going to let them cut the sheriff's office by $30 million. There's no way. We have to, I mean, it's simple, just like a household budget. We have to prioritize our existing resources in a way that reflects the needs out there and the money. I would make the argument that protecting the public is the most basic responsibility of local government. At the state level, I think it's educating our young people. At the national level, it's national security. But here, you got to deal with emergency services, police, fire, prosecution, keeping people safe, and then probably infrastructure. Before you get too far down the line to other things, less important priorities. We all think about some of that are less important, perhaps arts, perhaps some new open space acquisition. We have got to, again, get back to a structure that takes care of those problems first. And so you will see a lot of different ways in which we fill that gap and reject what the executive put forward for something that is much more workable. I would also mention one of the reasons why I voted, and I love parks, but it was a 24% increase in the parks levy that was passed out today. Now it'll go to the ballot in August, but man, I don't think this is a good year to go 24% up on parks. I would have supported a single-digit increase, but because we haven't solved these other problems, and so let's start not raise taxes there until we figured out some of the baseline stuff. So, you're a legislative body, you've got the power of the purse, you're going to do all these discussions, so are we. But at the end of the day, it won't be as bad as it is. And the legislature may give us some additional tools to help us solve some of those issues. But my job will be to keep you posted on how that is going and how it impacts the city of Newcastle.
Thank you, Councilmember Dunn. We sure appreciate your time and your presentation tonight, and thank you for all you do for our city.
Thank you, Mayor Clark,
We're
for
grateful.
having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Okay, next up is item 8.3, which would be a presentation from Waste Management. So I'm not sure who's going to do it, but come on up. Oh, and City Clerk, could we make sure that Councilmember Dunn's presentation is in the meeting minutes? Because it's not in the agenda package. Can we when the meeting minutes are published, can we make sure that's in there?
I can update the packet online.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's see.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Do we have a presentation?
As I get the presentation up, I just want to say good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff, residents of Newcastle. I am Joe Camaro. I'm the Public Sector Manager for WM for this contract. And I want to thank you for allowing me to, thank you, Jeff, to present the highlights from our 2024 Normandy Park Annual Report. In 2024, the employees of WM worked diligently with city staff to meet our contractual obligations to ensure the seamless delivery of essential services to our valued customers. And I always want to reiterate that we are grateful for our partnership with the City of Newcastle. Next slide. Here tonight are members of the WM team who are tasked toward advancing our progress in 2025. I want to introduce Rob Rutledge. He is our new Senior District Manager who just started yesterday. So, quick introduction. And also, here is Katie Rettenmeyer. She is our new Public Outreach Specialist who started 3 weeks ago. So we have a new team here to support the city. And I'm going to invite Rob just to introduce himself for a little bit. Yep.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Rob Rutledge. I've been with Waste Management for a little over 10 years now. I'm excited to come back to the Seattle team. I originally started my career with WM on our Seattle team, so I've been able to be part of the team that served Newcastle from 2014 to 2018 and then progressed to other roles throughout the company, but have been very excited to come back to the opportunity here and continue quality service for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, he's been promoted to various parts of the company, so we're glad to have his leadership at Seattle Hauling and serving Newcastle. So, next slide, please. So some of the operational highlights in 2024 that we provided a high level of service to waste collections to Newcastle's 3,500 customers. Our drivers continue to provide a positive experience, customer experience with residents. I wanted to note that in November, during the bomb cyclone, we were happy to support the city by providing 2 40-yard roll-off boxes with their cleanup efforts. And some of the, a few more highlights from 2024. There was probably some discussion about glass recycling in King County. One of the main glass processors for the region, shut down, and so it left one glass processor. And so there's been some glass recycling issues. But if you are a customer of Waste Management, rest assured your glass is still being processed because of an arrangement we have with one of the other processors. So your residents can feel comfortable that their glass is being recycled. Also, wanted to highlight that our Teamsters Union 117, 174, and 231 ratified new contracts in last April. It was a 5-year agreement, so we're happy about that. And then at the end of 2024, just wanted to give a little highlight that more folks are using the Newcastle, or I'm sorry, the Easy Pay function. 2,262 in 23, and it's up to 2,280 in 2024. So people are still using the online pay option. We're happy to have those folks transition to that. Next slide, please. All right. So diversion last year for Newcastle 7,399 tons of Newcastle's waste materials from residential, multifamily, and commercial customers were collected. The city and our customers diverted 45.4% of waste materials collected. In comparison, in 2023, there were 7,714 tons. The city and the customers were at 48%. The numbers could be slightly impacted by the, I want to say the bomb cyclone, because a lot of that material was either, I guess, taken away from another source, so it wasn't necessarily collected. So that may have impacted some of those numbers. But in this next slide, I'm happy to announce that our outreach efforts in our multifamily customers, there was an increase of 9% in recycling. In 2023, it was 26.6%. In 2024, it's 35.6%. So I want to congratulate our outreach team. They went out and visited the multifamily properties that were willing to listen, and I think that helped with those diversion numbers. So this year, we hope to follow that same model and kind of build on those, build on that momentum. And let me go ahead and introduce Katie Rettenmeyer, who will be leading our public outreach efforts for 2025.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council staff. My name is Katie Rettenmeyer, and I'm really thrilled to be joining Waste Management as Newcastle's new Public Outreach Coordinator.
You can raise that up.
Thank you. I recently graduated from Gonzaga University with a degree in Business Administration and double minors in Sustainable Business and Leadership Studies. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to advance the waste reduction efforts in the city of Newcastle and really making a difference in this wonderful community. With that being said, I'd love to give a special shout out to Waste Management's internship program that is still looking for applicants. So if you know of anyone who is passionate about recycling and sustainability, you can tell them to apply to the internship at wm.com. I'll hand it back to Joe. Thanks.
We hire him tall, so thank you, Katie. And some of the other outreach activities from last year, as you know, we provide $15,000 annually to the city to support the community events. Last year, we were at Newcastle Days, fireworks at the park, and a concert in the park. So this year we're going to maintain that relationship, so you'll see us out supporting those events this year. And we're pretty excited about, well, I am, about the fireworks. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, these are some of our calendar events to support the community. Again, we'll be at those events, the premier Newcastle events, and at the same time, we're also going to start putting together some articles for sustainability. I think we'll work with city staff to try and get that message out to residents. So, and final slide. All right, so I just wanted to close that again, we appreciate our partnership with the city. We work closely with Jeff and city staff to make sure that the services are top-notch for the city. And if there's ever an issue, you can contact any member of our team to address any issues. We're more than happy to help out and assist and resolve any issues with the city. All right, thank you.
Questions?
Questions?
Councilmember Charbonneau?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for coming. Every member of Waste Management I've interacted with in any capacity has been very nice and welcoming. A couple quick ones. What age group were you looking for the internships? Is that something for like high school students, college students? College students and recent graduates. Gotcha. Thank you. And then I was curious too, for looking at diversion rates, do you have a sense of how much of that is recyclable goods versus compostable?
A majority of it is compostable.
Or it is compostable?
Yeah.
I was going to ask just having like just a simple, like, I had the experience working in a couple restaurants in college, and I was gonna, if there are any of the restaurants or different food services in Newcastle that are maybe not composting, if we could help facilitate connecting them to you in any way, or connecting you all with the chamber in any capacity.
That would be great. I think when we built out our outreach for this year with Katie on board, I think a focus will be with our commercial businesses. A lot of the work from our intern program is outreach to those commercial businesses. So they spend pretty much the entire day or two to reach out to those commercial properties, checking in with them, offering them services, opportunities to compost. But yeah, there's certainly an opportunity for organics recycling in the commercial space.
Yeah, I mean, I was just astounded at like the level of food waste in other ways. So what would be preferable is just emailing you all, and we can, myself or someone from the city can reach out to you about that. Okay,
Absolutely. Mhm.
awesome.
Other questions? Oh, seeing none, thank you, Joe. Thank
All
you and your team for coming tonight. We appreciate your time and presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on in our agenda tonight, we have, next up is public comment. City Clerk, do we have anybody signed up? Thank you. Okay, public comment tonight. We have a few people signed up. Public comment is 3 minutes. You'll have 3 minutes. If you come to the podium, please state your name and neighborhood. When the bell rings, that means your time is up. We please ask you to wrap up your comments. First up tonight is Claudia Hershey. Claudia? The button in the center of the mic.
Oh. Claudia Hershey, Newport Woods neighborhood. Good evening, council members. I've not been able to attend in person for a while, and so I've not commented. I'm here now, and wow, has there ever been a lot going on worthy of commenting? It is difficult to know where to start. I will start with addressing some of the hate propagated by council members. And please, audience, I'm asking for no clapping, no, I don't need an approval about what I say. I think it's inappropriate to have a cheering crowd during comments. The first topic is I listened to the statement by Councillor Pratima Lakosha, who was insulted by a letter written by Mayor Clark. Then I heard an apology by Robert Clark and admittance to feeling snarky when he wrote the letter. Mayor Clark, you are smart. I know that because we worked together on technical issues. You've been successful in your jobs. You should be fully aware that once you put out false, angry, or snarky statements, that someone will pick up on it, and now it is out there to be used against Councillor Lakosha. Your statement will not go away from an apology at a city council meeting. The second topic I'll address is the anti-gay rhetoric by members of this council. It's been astonishing. And I'll speak to some of my own experiences. The first gay man I ever met was while attending the University of Washington as a sophomore in 1976. It was non-eventful, it was a non-issue, except that I will say he was one of the nicest men I ever met. And this is what continued to occur. Gay men were very nice and kind. Years and years later, I still could not understand why there is so much anger and hate towards the LGBTQ community. I listened to a sermon by a Unitarian Universalist minister. In that sermon, they said there were only two fundamental emotions, love and fear. Love and fear. Everything stems from love and fear. This got me thinking about the anger and hate. I really could not understand it, and was then provided with the perspective that it was fear. But fear of what? After 50 years myself encountering annoying persons from the LGBTQ community in life, at work, in social settings, all of which for me was a non-issue, I have never found anything to be afraid of. The only answer to fear could be a lack of security in one's own sexuality, perhaps. Putting aside the lies and hates, there is nothing to be afraid of. Mayor Clark, your passionate response at one meeting was falsely responding to LGBTQ inclusion comments and were full of content for hate groups to pick up on and use to spread more hate on the internet and in the community. Robert Clark, I know you're smart enough to know that what you say will be picked up by others. You stated that you are loved by your wife and your God. I say to you and to all of you that if you have a loving God, then your God does not want you to spread hate.
Thank you, Claudia. Next up is Amy George. Amy?
I'd also like to, I like Ms. Hershey's approach that we should not be applauding, clapping, cheering. This is a business meeting, and so I'd also like to request the same of the audience as well. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and neighbors. My name is Amy George, and I live in the Vineyard neighborhood. I'm speaking tonight as both a proud resident of Newcastle and someone who has the privilege of serving on this city staff. I want to express my deep disappointment and, yes, some embarrassment about the tone and nature of some comments made about city staff during the last meeting. I believe strongly in transparency, civic engagement, and the right to voice concerns. Criticizing decisions is fair. Asking for clarity is fair. But what I heard last 2 weeks ago went far beyond that. City staff were the targets of baseless accusations and public ridicule, especially troubling in a room where they are not allowed to correct misinformation or even respond. I work alongside 21 individuals who serve this city with unwavering commitment. They are highly trained, thoughtful, dedicated professionals who work hard every day to implement the policies set by this council. They show up every day, not for personal gain, but because they care deeply about Newcastle's present and future. You'd be amazed at how people speak to me when they don't realize I'm their neighbor on the other end, and how quickly the tone shifts when they do. It shouldn't make a difference whether I'm your neighbor or your city's communication manager, events and recreation coordinator. We all deserve to be treated with basic respect and decency. As a resident of this community, I will strive to do better and to ask better of my neighbors. And as a colleague, I will do more to help the community understand how our council manager form of government works, and to shine a light on the integrity and value the work our staff does every single day. To my colleagues on staff, I am sorry. You deserve better. I see you and I respect you, and I thank you for keeping our streets and stormwater systems safe and maintained, for maintaining fiscal integrity and sustainability, for ensuring development follows code and plans smartly for the future, for ensuring transparency in our public records, and for keeping this city running on a daily basis. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Next up, Kathy Fudge.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Fudge. I live in Newcastle, and I prefer not to give my neighborhood because of something that happened at the last couple meetings. So I prefer not to do that. I know if several of the council members know where I live. If the other council members want to approach me and ask, they can do so. I'm a little bit upset by the last few comments, and I understand that everybody has a right to say whatever. My first comment was going to be about how well the last meeting was run and how professional everybody was. I didn't feel like that there was bickering or hate that had been address to the council or the mayor or the deputy mayor or the public, or excuse me, the staff for the city. I feel that, and I have said this at several council meetings, that I feel that this is not the place to spew hate. It really isn't. You know, this is a place where we need to get something done, and everybody needs to try to get along. And my other comment is going to be about our flag. And our flag, a couple people were not here at the last meeting. Councilman Charbonneau, you weren't here to attend. Deputy Mayor, you were on the video, and I wasn't sure if you actually could hear everything that was going on. I kind of saw that there was conversations that you were having in the background, and which is fine. I mean, things happen when you're you're not in the thing. I worked in a home office for a long time, so I know that that happens. But I just want to again state that you work for the residents of the city of Newcastle. Your beliefs, your personal beliefs should not come into play with how you vote for whether there should be a flag. You should take in consideration of what the residents want, not just a small few, when we talk about what flags we're going to fly. And I urge you to think about this before you take a vote on what flags are going to fly. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. City Clerk, did anybody sign up online to comment? No? Okay, that concludes the first public comment. There is a second sheet over there for people who want to comment later. Okay, moving on now. Next thing up is ceremonial presentations, which we have none of tonight. Council comment. Councilmember Charbonneau, why don't you start us out?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm still catching up on the last couple of weeks. I'm just returning from leave, so if I've been slow to reply to anyone over email, I apologize. I'm working through all that currently, as well as catching up on everything. I just want to plug, I'm really excited for the Diamond Awards on April 30th, and very proud of a young athlete I nominated, Yulia Young, who's up for consideration for the, I believe it's the Youth Award. There's a more formal name for it, but very, very proud of her and getting to coach her for 4 years, and excited to see that award ceremony and encourage folks to come. I do want to flag that in the past meeting, I shared a couple meetings I had just to keep public informed. So I was going to meet with Director Fitzgibbons and the economic development folks from the Port of Seattle. They were really kind to move that meeting back for my bereavement leave, and we are now having that meeting on Monday, April 28th. So the topic of that is going to be economic development with a couple different folks, including the head of the economic development group at the Port of Seattle. If anyone's interested in that topic, let me know. I can incorporate ideas into that meeting. And then City Manager Pingle and I met with Representative Janice Zahn for the 41st District. It was a really good meeting. It was a good opportunity to introduce Representative Zahn and City Manager Pingle. We were able to talk a lot of Newcastle legislative priorities. And I'm working with City Manager Pingle to extend an invite to Representative Zahn to our May 20th meeting, where she had a desire to come speak to sort of the council, which is the same meeting that our lobbyist Shelley Helder will be speaking to the council. We'll also extend an invite to the town hall and our two other legislative representatives as well, but Representative Zahn had a really specific interest in all of that. And then I will have committee and regional committee updates, so I'll stop there. Thank you.
Councilmember Quigg, are you online? Can you hear us? If you are, go ahead and present your council comments.
I am, Mr. Mayor. No comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Griffin, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Just want to take the opportunity to say welcome to you folks in the crowd out there. We enjoy having you here when joining in our meeting. Thank you for coming.
Councilmember Sherlock.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Yeah, just want to echo the call for the Diamond Awards. I got my tickets today, so I'll be there. And just happy Passover and happy Easter to those who celebrate.
Councilmember Burford, do you have any comments for us?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for everyone. So glad to see you all here. So I'd like to take this moment to share with you all about honoring our beloved Tony Ventrella. This is resolution by Washington State House of Representatives. So let me read this one. So because I met with Rep. Jenny Zhang this weekend, so she shared this with me, and I feel this is really special and near to our heart. So here, House of Representatives resolution. House Resolution number 2025-4654 by Representative Leavitt. Whereas Tony Ventrella served his country, the state of Washington, and his local communities with passion and kindness. And whereas he served in the U.S. Army Reserve before chasing his dream of becoming a sportscaster, and whereas Mr. Ventrella brought his talents from Fort Wayne, Indiana, to Seattle to be a sportscaster at the Como 4 in 1981, and the King 5 hired him as sports director in 1982. And whereas for the next 20 years, he was the leading sports anchor in the Seattle market and a fixture in the homes of hundreds and thousands of Washingtonians who watch him every night on the evening news. And whereas he played a key role in building Washington's sports community, known for his effectiveness, smile, positive attitude, humor, and wit, with segments like the King 5's Whistling Holds of the Week. And whereas in 2004, he joined the Seattle Seahawks as the digital media host and was the on-camera host for the Seattle Sounders. And whereas his work behind the scenes to support local businesses and his countless community service activities often went unnoticed and unknown. And whereas throughout his over 40-year career in the media, Mr. Ventrella still found the time to speak at nonprofits, schools, churches, and assisted living centers, and volunteer in his community by starting a community theater program, hosting fundraisers, mentoring young people, and staffing the local fruit and produce stand in Newcastle. And whereas after 4 decades of broadcasting and community service, Mr. Ventrella served on the City of Newcastle Community Activities Commission from 2016 to 2019, was elected to the Newcastle City Council in 2020, and served as deputy mayor until 2021. And whereas in 2022, Mr. Ventrella continued his lifelong career connecting Washingtonians through storytelling during interviews with elected leaders and community members for King County TV's Community Conversations program. And whereas Mr. Ventrella passed away from cancer on October 19th, 2024, at the age of 80. And whereas he is remembered by one of his favorite quotes, "People may forget what you say to them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Washington State House of Representatives hereby honor Tony Ventrella for his dedication to covering and promoting Washington's sports teams and excellent service to his local community. And be it further resolved that the House of Representatives recognize Tony Ventrella for his inspirational spirit, his humor, and the pride and joy he brought to the residents across the entire state. And be it further resolved that the House of Representatives honor and extend the warmest appreciation to Mr. Ventrella's family for sharing him with sports fans across Washington. I hereby certify this to be a true and correct copy of Resolution 4654, adopted by the House of Representatives, April 7th, 2025, signed by Bernard Dean, Chief Clerk. So I personally want to share. So through our conversations and messages, I feel so honored to get to have conversation with him, and he was my hero. I really admire him. He was my inspiration. He's also still my inspiration. We really love him. We miss him dearly. Tony Ventrella. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
No comments.
Okay, mayor's comments, I just have two. Reminder, until Friday, I'm collecting flags. There's a box out in the foyer for used, tattered, or worn American flags, so it'll be disposed of on Saturday. Anybody's welcome to come. It will be at 9 a.m. on Lake Sammamish at the Flintoff property, just north of the boat ramp or boat launch, Sammamish State Park. So anybody's welcome. And the second one is this weekend, a very important milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord, where the Revolutionary War started, which led to our freedom as a country. So it's going to be an eventful year from now until next 1776, 250 years. So keep that in mind. All right, next up is we have first quarter police report. Chief Kajihiro, thanks for your patience. Come on up.
Okay, good evening. You can go on to probably the third page. I'm just going to get started. So this first quarter 2025, total crime is down 27%. So in crimes against person is down 10% from last year, which went from 10 to 9. And from crimes against property is down 29%, from 118 reports to 84. Crimes against society is no change, had 1 last year, 1 this year. So with a total of reduction of 27%. One of the most significant, I guess, you can go to the next slide. Next one. On this is the auto thefts. Auto thefts is down from 25 reports in 2023 down to 16 this year. And burglaries is down to 9 from 14 last year. Next slide. Auto parts and taken from auto, that's another issue in the city. It's down to 22 auto parts taken from 6 last year and 12 in 2023. And taken from auto, that's when they break into the car, steal, just a purse or any type of items from the car. It's down to 22 from 26 last year. It's almost equal to 2023. Next slide. Arrests is down by about 10, almost equal to 2023, which we had 12 that year. So, next slide is traffic citations. We had 186 this year, same as last year. Collisions is down from 20 in 2024, 13 this year. Next slide. Dispatch calls for service is about the same as last year at 386. And on views on the next slide is roughly about the same, slightly went down. It was 1,157 on views compared to 1,300 last year. Most of the on views are area checks and traffic stops. Next slide. Okay, this is the Flock transparency portal. If it's not already, it will be, I guess the link should be on the website, on the city website. But this is just talking about the policies and what external organizations in Washington that we have access to, or they have access to ours, and the amount of cameras and the vehicles detected that went through the cameras. Next slide. I'm not going to go through all of this because some of this I touched at other council meetings. I just gathered, since I never really reported on Flock previous meetings, so I just gathered all the significant cases. But the most recent, I should say, would be there was a shoplift at QFC, and Detective Martin conducted the investigation, and the Flock license plate reader cameras was used to identify the suspect, and it was an organized retail theft type of case. So charges are still pending, still under investigation on that. Next slide. Actually, one more. There you go. Okay, what are we doing? Proactive emphasis. So we're doing continuing the proactive patrols because we've got auto thefts in the city. But what we're going to start doing is more traffic emphasis. So I'm bringing in additional officers, and we're going to do a coordinated effort on hitting the traffic complaints and stuff. So the city, we just got several unmarked cars, so we're going to be out there concentrating on traffic a little bit more coming up. Community engagement, as always, we do the neighborhood block watch, business checks. One of the things that we're doing is implementation of the Newcastle Police Explorer program. We're going to start doing that. Detective Martin is going to transition from a full-time detective to a hybrid patrol/detective. His primary duties is going to be focusing on the business and community engagement, and also helping our full-time detective, which he'll be transferring in from the city of Burien, Detective CJ Ford. He was here as a patrol officer previously. He went there for about 2 years to Burien, and he's coming back as the full-time detective. Next. You want to report on anything, Court? Okay. Yeah, basically, one of the most significant one here is was the QFC to report here, yeah, that's pretty much the most significant one that we have. We can skip over this. Block watch. Okay, what we did in the first quarter, we did neighborhood block watch, business watch, captain's meeting. We had a handful of people show up. But Public Safety Committee was also there, and we had individual from the Wintry neighborhood that plans to implement a block watch. It was pretty impressive because she already had her neighborhood mapped out with, I think it was kids' names, people's names, all the way to the dogs' names and which house they belong to. So she was already pretty organized. Yeah, like I said, first quarter we attended, board meetings, the HOA board meetings, crime prevention meeting, and the reserve block watch meeting. Next. We handed out free steering wheel locks, and we still have a stock. So if anybody wanna pick up a free steering wheel lock, we still have some at the front desk of City Hall. Next. Yeah, Sundays with a Cop, we're starting that back up again. We had a big outpouring of kids coming out that day. It was a pretty good day. Pretty good turnout, and was really well received there. Next. Okay, officer news. We had MPO Charles and Deputy Gomez, who is now assigned here to the city of Newcastle. They received the 3rd highest award in the King County Sheriff's Office for their life-saving efforts of the driver in the burning car off of Newcastle Golf Club Road. Another officer news, we have one officer transferring out of graveyards. Then we got Deputy Gomez. He's already here. He's taking his place. And then Detective Ford is taking Detective Martin's place as the full-time detective. So in a sense, we're getting 1.5 detectives now. So our staffing is back up to 10 out of 12. Next slide. Officer of the quarter for the first quarter is Detective Martin for his leadership abilities, his professionalism, his investigative skills. Yeah, he's did a great job this first quarter. So, so congratulations, Corey. And lastly, upcoming in the second quarter is the Renton Police Youth Academy. It's going to be held on July 14th to the 17th. It's in partnership with Renton Police Department and DEA, Operation Engage, and also unincorporated King County. So anybody is interested, they can contact Renton PD to register. We'll have representatives from Newcastle there as squad leaders helping out. I think another thing we're doing in the second quarter, we are planning another block watch meeting, but I think it would inviting like the whole reserve neighborhood. Their dogs is invited, so we're gonna try and get more people involved in the dog walker watch program there. So that is in the planning stages, I think, for sometime in May. I don't have the dates offhand, but that just came up this morning. But I think the biggest thing coming up this year is the implementation of the Police Explorer program. That would be it. Any questions?
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. You mentioned we are 12. We are like now fully staffed, full-time.
So we allotted 12. We back up. We at 10.
Okay.
We're at 10. At one point, we were down to like 9, and then we had one officer on FMLA leave, so he's coming back. So we back up to 10. So we still got 2 vacancies.
And 10 is all hours we are getting, or any like full-time 10 or?
Yeah, that's 10 total.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Burford.
Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. I noticed that you mentioned the Youth Academy over summer in July. I noticed for the for middle schoolers, right, in the Renton School District, right, for middle school students, right, in Newcastle, but they need to attend Renton School District. So with Newcastle children and students, they either go to Renton School District or Issaquah. I know some students, they do attend the Bellevue School District. So that means only the middle school students who are attending the Renton School District, they are able to apply, right?
That you gotta bring up with Renton Police Department.
Okay, I
because
noticed that.
Renton is, I guess, the organizer of it. We are just helping out with them.
Okay.
But I believe you're right, it's the Renton School District, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Chief? Okay, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
For your presentation, thank you. Okay, next up on our agenda is the first quarter capital improvement projects. Director Bronze.
Yes, I'm available for any questions. I'm not planning to present anything.
Okay, questions for Director Bronze on the first quarter capital improvement. I'll start out then. By the end of this year, do we expect, my understanding is that Southeast May Creek Park Drive from the roundabout to Eden's Grove is going to be completed, is that correct?
Correct.
So the whole thing will be 100% all the way from Coal Creek down to 116th then?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I think planning to bid that in May or June.
okay. What about replacing, I didn't see it on the traffic pavement, but what about the slurry seal repair? When do we start the first section of that?
We've recently deferred that to 2027.
And why was that?
Budgetary. The estimate came in at about 1.4 to 1.6 million. There's a lot of curb ramp retrofits, so we're going to do that work this year, get that done, and then the paving. And then 2026, we have already allocated for the federal, we have a federal grant to repave Newcastle Way and portions of Coal Creek Parkway. So 2026 is already booked. So then 2027 is the next available.
Okay, and on the S17, the S17 project, is that slated, we have all the grant money now, is that slated to start soon? What's the progress on that?
So we are at a holding point now. There's one of the affected residents is refusing to sign the permit application. So we're actually meeting tomorrow to try and talk strategy about that. We're planning to look at construction in 2027 probably, just for workload availability and then getting prepared because that's a major project.
What would you do if the resident didn't sign it? What is the issue actually?
Not really sure. It seems he's got some irrational concerns. He was concerned about slope stability, even though his house is about 50 feet away from any activity. So we had our on-call geotechnical consultant prepare a tech memo. And I believe that is, I'm not sure if that's been given to him yet or not. So the next step would be to talk to our city attorney.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Director Bronze? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bronze. Moving on to council committees. Any council committees meet? Councilmember Charbonneau, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in that I'm working with Tyler Coyle, I guess planner, is that the right title? Planner, okay. To schedule our Economic Community Development Committee. We postponed that when I was on leave, and then we're going to bring that back around, and I should have a report for you next time.
Okay. How about regional committees? Go ahead, keep going.
Yes, thank you. That's why I waited for the council one. So, Regional Public Issues Committee, on April 9th. There are 6 openings for different regional committees for elected council members. Currently, those applications are open through Friday, April 18th, and it's 4 different committees. We got an update like Councilmember Dunn was talking about on the Parks Levy update. The Sound City Association did have some say in that, thankfully, and they talked about lowering the levy rate was number one. Two, increasing the direct pass-through of money to cities and grant money available to cities. And three, requiring more transparent reporting on the different geographic measures of how funds are distributed, so to different parts of the county. We got a legislative update, talked about wastewater rates, which I will spare everyone here of. And then talked about SCA membership survey and continuing to try to gauge input from the folks that are SCA members, whether that's cities or folks that are the elected members participating. And then for attended mental illness and drug dependency oversight committee, the chief thing there is that we're talking about looking at how the tax is sort of the sales tax revenue for this that goes towards mental illness and drug dependency is being distributed, and sort of organizing the strategic plan. To that end, there are a few different work groups for subject matter experts, which are not necessarily, they're not for folks that are a part of this committee, but I shared my own background and sort of qualifications, and I'm thankful I'm going to be serving on the children, youth, and young adult mental health work group for that group. So that's looking at how those sales tax revenue dollars are spent for that children, youth, young adult folks going towards mental health agencies. So excited for that. If folks have input on that, please let me know. And that is all I have.
The openings that Councilmember Charbonneau referred to, everybody should have had an email, council members, so you can just apply directly if you're interested. Okay, moving on, we have in the package tonight, we have a Community Activities Commission report. However, we don't have anybody here to present that, so if anybody wants to read it, they can go into their package and look at it. Next up is City Manager. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Several things. First of all, just wanted to mention on the record, our town hall meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 7th. Doors at Risden Middle School. Doors will open at 5:30, and the town hall to start at 6. In the city manager report in the packet, we wanted to just clarify some timing issues with the tool development, just because it seems to continue to be misunderstood. So while the through street for that development is being constructed and will be completed before they start home construction, we don't anticipate the road being open to through traffic throughout the whole 3 to 4 year process of building homes and going through the development process. Just with construction work and all that goes into that, they'll be able to have local traffic, they'll have construction traffic, but there's not going to be a cut-through opportunity until they get closer to being completely done building homes and having them sold off. And so we do anticipate that that through traffic won't become an issue until we get closer to the monitoring time period, which we anticipate to be not until 2028, depending on the time frame for constructing and selling the homes. And so, and then, well, it's not set in stone. The monitoring period will only really be about 6 months long. And so the opportunity for cut-through traffic there is not going to be much longer than the monitoring period. And we just wanted to put out a tentative schedule, so that's what's in the city manager report in the packet, to try to clarify that. Mayor Clark and I will be meeting with Lorraine Ralston about the America 250 for the semi-quincentennial celebration for America's 250th birthday, and to find out more about how the city can be engaged in that process, and we'll report back after we find out some things. And then I'm going to mention just one thing for Councilmember Burford. So she had requested to attend the AWC conference, and just with how much that the City Council Professional Development and Travel Training Funds have not been utilized very much over the last couple of years, and so we've really squeezed those line items. And so when she made her request, we asked her to bring it to the council, and so I'm just bringing it to you just so that I just wanted to, we can certainly do that. We just wanted to make sure that there's nobody else wanting to go, or that's not going to become an issue of, being fair or anything to what's available in those line items for the council to attend trainings. And so I just wanted to bring that forward.
What are the dates for that?
I don't know. Do you know the dates?
June 24th to 26th. Yeah, all day long meeting.
I think I got an email, was it from the city clerk, I think, are we already over, that would cause us to go over budget on that line item, right? Is that?
It would be pretty close. It just depends on what hotels cost and whatnot. And so it's not going over in the line item certainly isn't a budget killer. And so I think the main issue is making sure there's not desire to attend other trainings such as that, just because we'll use what's budgeted.
I'll just ask, are there any objections to her going? Okay, Councilmember Burford, yeah, please come back with some action or some informational items for us from that conference.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, City Manager?
Oh, yeah, by the way, I've used my own time. Yeah, so supposedly it's my summer break, but I will be there attending the conference. This is an annual conference once a year. Last year I attended the conference. They covered the expenses for me because I was the first time participant as a newly elected official. So I learned a lot, and it's really wonderful professional development for a council member. Thank you for all your support.
Any questions for the City Manager? Go ahead, Councilmember Shaw.
Just a quick comment. I saw the banner on Coal Creek today for the town hall, and it looks great, so thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Any desired changes or alterations to the consent agenda? Councilmember Charbonneau.
Yeah, I'd like to pull item 9.4.
9.4 becomes general business item 12.1. Any other changes desired? Okay. Please show the consent agenda approved as modified. Okay, moving on, there are no public hearings, there's no unfinished business. That brings us back around to item 9.4, which is 12.1. Planning Commission appointment. Councilmember Charbonneau, what's on your mind?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I think learning more about this interview process and sort of to fill the Planning Commission appointment going for what was formerly Scott Marsh sitting in that seat. My understanding is that it was a 3-person interview panel and that 2 of the people on the interview panel preferred one applicant and then the other member preferred a different applicant. And we're going forward with the candidate that had been voted on sort of preferred by one as opposed to the other 2. So I'd like to honor that. I looked into the other applicant's background. I found him really qualified with just a civil engineering background, with having a lot of experience with the permitting on that, which is about as wonky and, I think nerdy and what you could hope for someone that wants to be involved with the city and be involved with the Planning Commission to have a background in that. So I move to reject the mayor's appointment of Amber Elam to the Planning Commission and appoint applicant Craig Belcher to the Planning Commission vacancy.
Second.
Okay. Why did I not see this coming, huh? So it's been moved and seconded to reject the mayor's appointment of Amber Elam and appoint Craig Belcher. So, first of all, we have an issue because the mayor appoints the person to the position per our policy manual. So I need some clarification, please, from the city manager or city clerk or city attorney. It's very clear in our policy manual that the mayor appoints the person to this position. And it's always been that way.
Thank you, Mayor. So reading, this is the council rules, 4.02 under advisory commissions. The mayor with council approval appoints commissioners to serve a 4-year term expiring on July 31st. I believe the agenda bill that I write, it's a template, but the mayor does appoint with council confirmation. It's not a unilateral decision of yours. The council has to confirm your appointment.
But it doesn't say the council member can pick councils can pick their own member.
No, it does not.
Okay, so therefore they can reject my selection, but they cannot appoint somebody in their place, correct?
It's a little bit of a gray area. It doesn't specifically say yes or no on that. The majority of the council, if there's 4 votes on almost anything, I mean, Curtis and I can meet, but if a majority of the council says this is what we want, and they don't, I don't know that I have the means to say that this is.
Well, that would be true if that was decided before the agenda was approved. Now we're in the 5-vote realm because there's not an option for public discussion. Well, while you're figuring that out, I have a few comments to make. So we did have an interview process, correct? So ultimately, I picked the person, right? That's the way it's always been. Now, I understand what the rules say, but there's never been a situation where the mayor's choice has not been selected. So I don't arbitrarily pick somebody that just out of thin air. We had an interview process, 5 candidates interviewed. 2 of the 5 candidates had never attended a planning commission meeting or attended online. And 1 candidate, Mr. Belcher, was not really familiar with the planning process. So in my mind, those 2 people are immediately to the bottom of the pool. And that would be true in any business in America. You don't have any interest in the job, or you haven't shown up to learn about the job, you're not at the top of the pool. I don't care what the qualifications are. I would not hire somebody in the steel mill if they'd never known about Nucor or my company, and that's no different here. So in my mind, the pool is already only 3 people deep. Now, we discussed this all in our post-interview process. One of the 3 candidates, all 3 of us agreed would not be a complete fit, would not fit. That leaves 2 people, right? So of those 2 people, there was doubts about one of the persons from one of the interview panel members. That leaves Miss Elam as the last choice. That was how that choice was made. It's logical. It makes sense. And that's the way it's done in business everywhere in the whole world. Now, I know my council is going to pick somebody else. They want to pick somebody else for I don't know exactly why. But the rationale and the logical steps to pick this person was followed as would be anywhere in the entire world in a rational, thriving business. So the council can reject that appointment, but you're setting a terrible precedent because never in the past have we said, no, Mayor, you can't have your choice, right? You know, if Miss Elam was not qualified at all and she had never even shown up, they'd have a valid point. But tonight they don't. This is just because we don't like the mayor's choice, so we're going to reject the mayor's choice. It could have been the most qualified person on the planet Earth who'd been to every planning commission meeting. It's just about rejecting my choice. So let's be clear about that. So Ms. Elam is highly qualified. She was picked logically. She deserves to be on the committee. She's been to meetings. She understands the issues. I'm not going to select or recommend somebody who doesn't understand the meetings, have never been attended to the meetings. So that's my reasoning, and now we're waiting for the city attorney and the city clerk to give us a ruling. So please bear with us.
Okay, so 1.04 in the city council policies of procedures requires a 2/3 majority to suspend a rule in the manual. So that's 5 votes to suspend the rule that says that the mayor appoints with the approval of city council. So to suspend that rule tonight, well, I mean, if the mayor, and I'm not telling the mayor he has to do anything, obviously. If the mayor were to essentially nominate somebody else, and then there was a vote on that, then that process would normally happen. If you don't want to go through that process, then you can either vote not to confirm, in which case it just remains vacant. Or you can, 5 of you could move to suspend the rule that the mayor appoints, in which case 4 of you could nominate and appoint somebody. The other alternative could be that at a future meeting, 4 of you could amend the entire policies and procedures to change that. But that would be a permanent change, because it's always going to take 5 to suspend a rule. So those are your general options as I see them.
Thank you, City Clerk. So here we are. So we have, let me just summarize. So City Clerk, City Attorney, so let me feed back to you here. So right now I've nominated Ms. Elam. There's a motion to reject her. That is a 4 vote. That would require 4 votes.
That's correct.
But in order to, the council wants to appoint their own person, tonight at this meeting, they would need 5 votes because that would be overriding a procedure.
They would have to vote, it would take 5 people to vote to suspend the rule.
Suspend the rules.
And then there would be a second motion, presumably to appoint who the
If
4 want.
if the 5 vote passes.
That's correct.
Very well. Okay. Councilmember Charbonneau, go ahead, send some questions here.
Yeah, I move to amend my motion. I move to amend my motion to the following, I guess that's helpful and I can pass it down. I move to reject the mayor's appointment of Amber Elam to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to reject Amber Elam from the Planning Commission. Any discussion, any further discussion? I've said my piece. You're setting a bad precedent. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Firstly, I want to thank all the 5 candidates we had. All of them were good, and it's a volunteer position. And very grateful to the citizens to make time and interview for a volunteer position. In the past also, we have appointed people who have never attended any planning commission meeting, so this is not the first time. All of them interviewed well, as I said, but we just found myself and Planning Commission Chair, Mr. Gasdick, who's been on the Planning Commission for 10 years. He's been the chair for 10 years. So based on the qualification, based on the experience, for this round, we just felt that this particular candidate would be a better fit. And he also mentioned to all the candidates that the positions keep opening up and there's always, the candidates can always apply. But for this round, we felt that, this candidate would be a good choice. As I said in the past, there have been many candidates who have never attended a planning commission meeting, but they still have been appointed to the planning commission. Merely based on qualification. So that's the whole reason we felt that this candidate would be a better fit.
Councilmember Charbonneau, go ahead, comments.
Thank you. Yeah, I think personally I'm paying very close attention to our planning commission appointments because we were recently presented with a comprehensive plan from our planning commission that we had to heavily alter, and we had to spend a lot of time going forward and looking through and changing that. So I was really struck by Commissioner Marsh, who the seat was sitting in the seat talking about how the folks that had been recently appointed were the ones that went sort of against this years of work that had been done in this planning commission. And, I was really struck too when we had a really wonderful commissioner named Brian Kennard who had to step away from the planning commission for personal reasons. And then when he chose to reapply to the planning commission and bring years of expertise back to that commission, he wasn't selected despite being incredibly qualified and bringing a number of years to that. So no, it's not something I do lightly. I think the mayor's presenting straw man arguments and his own framework and absolutes, which I don't think to be the case. So I do this with, I think, the best interest of the city. I think we have some really, really qualified people there, and I appreciate folks going to step up.
Well, I'll just add another comment. So lifetime appointments are not the thing for the city. So Mr. Kennard certainly did a lot of great years on the committee, but it doesn't guarantee a lifetime appointment. And the Planning Commission did an excellent job of trying to simplify the comprehensive plan. The deputy mayor made a comment at that meeting. She said it was too complicated for AI to understand. And yet, 4 of these colleagues up here just said, hey, let's do it. The Planning Commission that was in place tried to make simplifications that were easier for businesses to understand. As the Community Development Director said, the person coming to Newcastle has to know what they can or cannot do. That was the whole purpose of the Section C items that were rejected out of hand to a plan that AI couldn't understand. So I also took that into consideration when I'm making this selection, right? I'll say it again, right? If you owned a business and 2 candidates, 3 candidates, 4 candidates showed up, and some of them didn't even know your business, would you hire them? Of course you would not do that. This is setting a really bad precedent for future mayors. Forget about me, right? We're saying that the council can then just override and do whatever they want regardless of what the mayor wants to do. So I caution for future mayors, you're setting, Councilmember Sherlock, maybe you'll be mayor next year. Who knows, right? You want the council telling you who to appoint? And be careful. So I'm strongly, obviously, opposed to this motion. So that's my final comment on that. So we have a motion on the floor to reject Amber Elam as the mayor's choice for the Planning Commission. And Councilmember Quigg, can you hear us, by the way?
I can, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, just making sure you're still there. So the motion on the floor to reject the mayor's choice of Amber Elam for the Planning Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Nay.
Okay, so Amber Elam is rejected by a vote of 4-3. Okay, so the position is vacant. All right. Moving on. I'm sorry, Ms. Elam, I see you in the audience back there. You would have made an outstanding planning commissioner, but for childishness, you will not get the job.
Point of order.
Moving on to second public comment period.
You need to address the
acknowledge
point
your
of order.
What's your point?
Point of order is calling a vote that you're not happy the result with childish and calling out to individual members in the audience. That's inappropriate.
Very well, point noted. That was inappropriate, I apologize. As you can imagine, I'm very frustrated to set a new precedent that we didn't need to do. Okay. Moving on to additional public comment. We have 2 people signed up. Again, if you come to the podium, please, you'll have 3 minutes to speak about your issue. When the buzzer sounds, we ask you to wrap it up. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record. Claudia Hershey.
Oh, it's red. Good evening again, Claudia Hershey, Newport Hills neighborhood. I thought I'd share just a brief story in the interest of precluding any presumptions about what I said earlier as meaning I'm against something. I wore a POW MIA bracelet for at least a decade. I've saved that bracelet. In the 70s and the early 80s, I wore Army fatigue pants made for Vietnam service. They were this first generation mixing cotton and polyester so they dried quickly, and they were like a cargo pants. I wore those pants until they fell apart. When the seams started splitting, I used colored thread to repair them. And when people asked about my pants, I said, they are my Vietnam pants, to bring attention to the war and the POWs and the MIAs.
Next up, Kathy Fudge.
You all know who I am, so I'm not going to repeat it. I just witnessed something here that I really think, and I watched every single one of your faces. And I take note to the deputy mayor's smirks. I take note to Councilmember Charbonneau's looks and kind of grins. I think this is appalling. I think it's appalling the way that you handle business in this council. It is out of control, and you need to get grasp of what you're doing and get the job done.
Okay, that concludes city, hold on. Thank you for everybody. The first public commenters tonight at the first comment section did say that, clapping and cheering is, they did not want that, and I kind of concur. I mean, we know that people get excited about issues, but I would ask people to just, I can't stop you, of course, but, just be respectful. City Clerk, anybody signed up online for the second public comment? Okay, that concludes our second public comment. Planning calendar, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The May 6th meeting is canceled for the May 7th Town Hall meeting, and then the next meeting after that will be our May 20th meeting. We will have our first quarter financial report and a couple of consent items. Talking with having an end of session legislative report, as well as potentially having representatives on here. Those are conversations that have been had in the last day, and so we'll get those confirmed and added as we're able to do that. And then we'll be into June.
Questions? Councilmember Charbonneau?
Thank you. I see for summer 2025, both for Director Fitzgibbon and Director Bronze, sort of looking at middle housing items. I know we're having, the date is escaping me, we're having something, right, we're having, I think, is it a hearing or something in regards to middle housing later this month? Will that hearing be at all informative of sort of these ordinances that are coming forward, or are these more like compliance with state law ordinances that our directors are preparing?
So that'll be about middle housing. So that will affect that ordinance.
Okay, so I was just trying to create the thread of like, can folks give input that would be informed in these ordinances that are being prepared by the directors down the line?
Yes, so middle housing will, right now it's with the Planning Commission, and they'll make a recommendation to the City Council as far as the middle housing ordinance. And that's coming from new state law on middle housing. The public works standards have been coming for a little while, but once the middle housing, new laws around middle housing got adopted by the state, that put public works standards updates kind of on hold because they need to go in conjunction with the middle housing ordinance. And so those will kind of go in tandem.
Got it, thank you. So yes, I will encourage folks to come to that. I think it's April 23rd. Come to the middle housing public hearing and provide input on that.
Councilmember Sherrill?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm hoping to get something added to the agenda for May 20th, so should I make a motion for that? Okay, so I move to add to the agenda for the May 20th meeting.
Right, you don't really need to make a motion, right, City Manager? We can just, two people approve or what?
So two people approve something to go on the planning calendar. If you want something to go on a specific agenda, that should be a motion and approved by 4.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I move to add to the agenda for the May 20th meeting, the adoption of a resolution to raise the pride flag every year during the month of June.
Okay, we have a motion to add an agenda item to May 20th to raise the pride flag every June. Do you wish to comment?
I just want to make sure that this is a motion
to put it on the agenda, to be clear. And then I just wanted to have that conversation and be able to vote on that before June.
Any second comments? Councilmember Sherman? No? Okay. Motion on the floor to add an agenda item to the May 20th meeting to discuss raising the pride flag every June.
Sorry, it's to put on the agenda the adoption of a resolution to raise the pride flag every year during the month of June.
Pardon. So the motion on the floor is to add an agenda item to the May 20th meeting to adopt a resolution to raise the pride flag every June. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No?
Nay.
Okay, 4-3. So city manager will add that to the agenda. Okay, any other questions or items for the planning calendar? Okay, seeing none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.